Hi, welcome to another episode of Port Charles Chat. I'm Mom,
And I'm Brandon.
and we're here to talk about the week of March 3rd through March 7th. Brandon, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I am ready. All right, guys. This was, I think, an interesting week for me because a lot of it was all about the same. But there were a couple highlights this week that I kind of want to go over. First of all, let's talk about Lulu and Brooklyn because I think this was really the story of the week. Lulu actually breaks into Martin's hotel room, and in her discovery of looking around, she finds the notes that Martin took in regards to Lois meeting with him. And so she reads the notes and she realizes that Brooklyn does have another child and that Dante is the father. Lulu's under the impression that Brooklyn is the one who actually met with Martin. And so Lulu goes and confronts Brooklyn. Brooklyn is upset, and she also says enough where, Lulu kind of realizes that maybe Brooklyn was not the one who went to Martin. Brooklyn comes clean and she admits to everything. She says that she does have a child. She says she didn't know it was a boy. She just found that part out when Lulu let her know, and that she actually brings up that Lulu had a child also. Well, Lulu was pregnant at a time also, and I had actually forgotten about that. But they were both teenagers when this happened. Lulu chose not to have her child, whereas Brooklyn did. And so they kind of had this conversation, and it was an interesting conversation to watch. And I did feel really bad for Brooklyn when I was kind of watching it. In the midst of all of this, Lulu does tell Carly about it. So Carly is aware of the situation with Brooklyn. Brandon, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this confrontation in Friday's episode really showcased, I believe, Brooklyn more than it did Lulu, in that she's just now finding out that that she had a child to a boy, and that now is sort of out in the open, whereas she really didn't tell anyone up until like a couple weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's out there. And even though at times Lulu pauses to sort of, I guess, feel for Brooklyn, you can tell that Lulu really does not care.
Yeah, I will say that. I could agree with that completely, Brandon. All right. And then let's move on to Tracy. Um, Tracy is, well, Tracy being Tracy. There are a couple things going on with her. First of all, Martin has announced that the land that's the Quartermain Mansion is on, that a portion of it actually belongs to the public or the city. And so that meaning that it's really the crypt that belongs to the city. And so Tracy does not believe him. And so she ends up having a surveyor herself come onto the land to take a look. And so that is part one. At this point in time, we don't know what the surveyor thinks. The surveyor that Tracy has hired thinks. And part two has to deal with Geo. Geo actually has been given money by Sonny in an educational trust fund, and this is something that Sonny I think has done throughout the years that with Geo, just kind of giving him money for his education. Tracy does not want Geo to have anything to do with this. Tracy said, I think Tracy is willing to pay for Geo's education, and so Tracy actually kicks out Sonny of the house. But in the meantime, Geo has signed the forms for it. And so the whole family ends up going back to Sonny's house later to kind of talk to him in regards to this money and to say that they're sorry the way that Tracy acted in regards to Geo. All right, Rocco, different scene altogether again now. Rocco receives a text from Charlotte. Charlotte says that she's in Buenos Aires. Rocco does not want to tell Lulu about this. Rocco does tell Danny. Danny then, in fact, then goes and tells Jason, and Jason then goes and tells Anna, and then Anna and Jason decide to go to Buenos Aires to rescue Charlotte or to bring her back. Um, Rocco is not happy at all that Danny told about this secret. She really didn't want anyone to know. Rocco was just kind of trying to tell him brother to brother. Brandon, what were your thoughts about either of those storylines?
I mean, I thought it was definitely interesting that that it sort of came down to Rocco, Danny trusting each other, and then Danny immediately, like not even minutes later, but immediately handing the phone over to Jason as soon as he walks into the room about Charlotte's location, and Rocco was like. Yeah, his facial expressions just show like, dude, really? I mean, we just had this trust conversation.
Yeah.
So I thought it was all amusing. Jason didn't even hesitate. It's like, okay, I'll go to Argentina and go pick up Charlotte, and so there we have it. And now Jason and Anna are heading off. Although they have an interesting thing where they head into the elevator and then they just sit on the elevator scene for a moment. So I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't see them take off in an airplane or anything like that. I guess they'll magically appear there with bags packed. Who knows? Alrighty, that's next. Next thing we have Drew. Drew's still having issues in town. So at this point in time, Drew wants to blackmail Portia. Long story short, Portia actually changed the lab results for Heather Weber. Brad realized this. Brad, and so Brad has been sort of blackmailing Portia, but not I don't want to say not a bad blackmailing, but he's not doing anything that's that's requiring a lot of work per se for Portia. But in the meantime, anyway, Brad, because he was being threatened by Selena Wu, his aunt, he moves ahead and he tells Selena about Portia. And so Portia tells Drew. Drew then in turn goes to see Portia, and now Drew wants to blackmail Portia. And Portia then goes to speak to Rick, and they talk about the ramifications of this blackmail and whether or not she needs to tell Curtis or not. So, and right now, there's not really a resolution to this. We're just, everyone's talking about it. All right. Jocelyn has returned. We see Jocelyn in WSB training, and you see her sparring with, I guess, one of her coaches or her supervisors or her trainers, whatever this Vaughn is to her. So they spar back and forth. And then Sidwell. I think this is the last big thing that happened this week. We are first, Natalia and Sidwell do meet together. Natalia does go to Sidwell's house, and she asks some questions about why he's in town, and she asks him whether or not he's there to take out Sonny. And then Sidwell says, well, are you the one who's here to see Sonny? So we're still not sure what in the world's going on with them because they are interrupted by Alexis. But Alexis has been invited by Sidwell to the house. Sidwell does show her a dagger. Alexis does look at the dagger. She knows exactly where it's from. She said that it was the dagger used by Helena to kill her mother, and she doesn't want anything to do with the dagger. And then she kind of leaves at that point in time to go back to her place. But what's interesting is to watch Sidwell afterwards because Alexis did touch the dagger. Sidwell made sure to use a handkerchief when he touched it to put it back. So that is going on with Sidwell. Brand, did I leave out anything else major that happened this week?
I mean, not really for the most part. We've had a lot of side plots of the week, but there were only just a couple of cohesive storylines and a bit of admittedly filler.
Yeah, I thought quite a bit of filler too. All right, Brand, you ready? Let's hit the fun stuff. Let's hit the performers of the week. And you might be surprised at who I'm saying are performers of the week. All right. The first one I will say is Brooklyn for me. I like the way she responded when when Lulu asked her all the questions. I like that she was honest with her response. I like the shocked look when she realized she had a son because she didn't know what she had. I like that she became mad at the same time. So all the emotions all at one time. So I really, really like that with Brooklyn. My second person is James. I didn't talk about him during our storylines of the week because, to be quite honest, it's not a true storyline. It's just James being James. But I think he's cute, and so I like the way that he was in the story in which regards he broke his arm. He slid with a sled off of his roof. Poor Felicia was watching him, and so and they showed her his interaction with Isaiah, and I thought they did a nice job with his interaction with Isaiah. And then the last person for me is Geo. Um, Geo, I thought kind of had his storyline is coming there, and so I like the where they're kind of leading him into it. I like the way he's with Dante and how they have him acting alike now. I had noticed previously that Geo's hair had changed. It looks a little darker to me now. But anyway, I noticed that the way they have them kind of being in more scenes, and I think they're doing a nice job with him. I even liked him with Emma this week. All right, Brandon, who are your performers of the week?
First of all, I love the ones that you chose. I feel like all of their acting really showed off this week. But I want to add my own take to it as well.
Okay, who are you adding?
I'm going to use Rocco and Danny.
Oh yes, they did. I left out Rocco. Not so much Danny. I like Danny, but I like Rocco's reaction. But go ahead, Brandon. Tell us your reasons.
Yeah, I mean, for me, well, first of all, I definitely wanted to highlight Rocco because I loved his reaction to everything and his interactions with Danny. But I think what really helped pull it off is the interactions that Rocco had with Danny and sort of their uh, brotherly bond and struggle, so to speak. While they may not be blood related, they certainly are brothers, and so them sort of arguing over, who should tell who to rescue, your sister, and why you should not do that, and even how they're able to quickly make up a story on the fly to tell Dante.
hmm Yeah, really nicely. And like I said, I really, we don't see either of them play much emotion. Well, I mean, you see Danny playing emotion, you don't see Rocco playing emotion. And when Rocco yelled, that is the first time I've ever seen him actually have a personality. So I like to see that. All right. All right. For amusing scenes of the week, it's James in the hospital scene. I thought that was absolutely cute. So James in the hospital scene for me was one of my amusing scenes, and then Maxie and Martin, I got a kick out of them in the restaurant, and Maxie in general is just fun to watch, and so I liked both of those storylines, and then the other storyline that I was rather amused by, and not so much funny haha, but just funny and just watching was Sonny, and in regards to Sonny in his house. Sonny moved into this house like 5 minutes ago, and he's had like 10 visitors, and no one's come to visit him in his penthouse. I mean, when it was a penthouse. But anyway, so so all of a sudden, Sonny is there. He's had people come to. I don't know how they found him. So I was rather amused by it this week. Even Christina found him while he was looking at the house itself. And so those were my amusing scenes of the week. How about you, Brandon?
When it was a penthouse, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything could really beat Christina just randomly coming into the scene. I think this is the only time we've even seen her this week. Just coming into the scene, out of nowhere. It's just like, well, Dad, this is Valentine's house. I mean, where'd she come from? Is she taking lessons from Carly, just coming out of nowhere?
I know. And like, who cleaned out this house? I mean, I know the furniture's left there, but he left in a hurry. I mean, he didn't have much time to clean much of anything. There should be all sorts of evidence sitting in that house. And so, anyway, so I'm amused by this. All right. As for heartwarming scenes, I'm sorry, Brad. Did you have any other music scenes?
I also picked James and Felicia. I mean, that was just, I love that.
All right. Cool. All right, now for heartwarming or touching scenes. I went first to Dante and his boys because I did like the interaction. When Dante kind of interrupted Danny and Rocco, kind of having their little match with each other. I liked the way Dante came in, the way he spoke to him. And then at the same time, even though he doesn't know that Gio's his son, I liked the way that he was interacting with Gio. And then I did like later Dante and Sonny because I also thought they had a nice conversation together later on. And then as for another heartwarming scene, it was actually Sasha and Tracy. They had a scene earlier this week that I really liked. All right, Brandon, what about you for heartwarming or touching scenes?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, and I mean, the one I think I can point to first is with, of course, Geo and with Tracy. I feel like that was a really nice one. I really liked it. And then Sonny and Dante had an interesting one as well that I thought was nice. And so we're getting a lot of characterization for Geo this week.
Yeah, we really are. We are. All right. As for fast forward moments, it's just Drew in general right now. At least for this week, he was my fast forward person. All right, and I didn't even include Willow in there. At least Willow's storyline this week had something to do with plot. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, it would have to be Drew. I'm not entirely sure as to what they're doing with him. I mean, in some scenes they want us to him to be the big villain, and other weeks, days, hours, he is a sympathetic person. Like we actually saw him like caring for his past son, in this week. But then he goes right back to blackmailing Portia. So I mean, I'm not sure what we're trying to supposed to be feeling this time.
Yeah, understood. All right, and then I added one for best scene of the week, and for me, the best scene of the week was actually Brooklyn and Lulu, and I say that because I really like Brooklyn's reaction. So that was for me for best scene of the week. Did you have any for you, Brandon?
It would be that one.
All righty. Once more, welcome back for our welcome back moments, and welcome back Ned, welcome back James, and welcome back Jocelyn. All right, Brandon, did I forget anyone for welcoming back?
I think that's the main ones.
All right. And once more, we have our Where Are You? Where's Lucky? I mean, I think Lucky is in a hospital somewhere. I don't know because we didn't see him this week. We have Where was Olivia? She went on a field trip. I guess she hasn't returned. I don't know. And then Molly is missing in action too. And then Mac is missing too. So those are my Where Are Yous. Brandon, did you have any Where Are Yous this week?
Yeah, it's definitely those ones, and I feel like we haven't gotten a lot of a different change in like the formula in the show in a moment. So all these weeks feel very like the same.
Yeah, I agree totally. And for next week, um, I am looking forward to seeing what Sidwell's relationship is with Alexis. I found it intriguing that he called her, and so, or called to speak to her and have her come over. So, which means to me that he has some sort of relationship with Alexis. So, I'd like to see what that is. And then also, I want to follow up with Valentine, Anna, and Jason. I mean, I know it's a wild goose race or but I'd like to see what in the world they're trying to do with them. And then Jason's not, to the best of my knowledge, is not supposed to be leaving town. So I'd like to see the ending of that. All right, Brandon, what about you for next week?
What, Jason the Hitman going rogue with the police commissioner?
I know, so hard to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in seeing what they're going to do with Valentine next week. I hope they don't waste his character. Um, I mean, to me, it's for the last few times Valentine's shown up, he's been a pretty fun and enjoyable character and changes things up. So I hope that delivers. And I would like to see more of a Molly storyline. And I don't know. I mean, I love seeing the young actors this week. I think that was truly a highlight of this week, and I hope they continue with that and less of whatever was happening in Friday's episode. Can we talk about that with the with all the flashbacks?
Yeah, that was weird. All of a sudden, I had a pre-COVID nightmare in which, well, a COVID nightmare, I should say, in which they did all those flashbacks on those on those General Hospital scenes, and then on Friday we saw flashbacks to things that happened that week. I wasn't getting it, and why was it necessary when everything happened this week and not weeks ago? Um, Brandon and I kind of talked about that a little bit. What were your thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, I thought that was just so weird. I mean, I thought it was nice that we got a flashback to Dex and Jocelyn.
Hmm.
To me, that one I understood. But for
Hmm.
some of the other stuff, it literally just happened, like Thursday, And so it feels like you walk into a room. It's like, remember when I walked into that room? I mean, it actually reminds me of, like you're saying, one the either a COVID episode or a writer strike episode where I think there was an episode a long time ago where like Finn spent the whole episode playing chess. I mean, like this is what this feels like.
Yeah, I will say, Brandon, I did leave one scene out, and that has to be with the amusing scenes. I left out Jordan and Isaiah. I kind of liked them together as they were making their pasta or whatever they were doing in the apartment. So I did get a kick out of that. All right, Brandon, is there anything else you want to talk about this week on General Hospital?
Yeah, well, first of all, I love that scene, but I did want to say, so Sasha is working with Sidwell now.
Yeah, they didn't expand on that besides the fact that I guess he's given her 250,000 or whatever the amount of money is for for trying to convince Deception to take him on because he can get some sort of mineral. If I heard that correctly, did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, he has Zincite, which Deception needs, and so he needs Deception to work with him. But what's interesting is that he doesn't really want to hide what he's doing, but he wants the truth out, the full truth that I'll only kidnap you and terrorize you if you did something to me. I just don't do it out of the ordinary.
Yeah, just odd. But anyway, any other things?
But yeah, but she did that, but yet turned down Carly.
Yeah, interesting. The legitimate money.
But I will say, this whole thing with Geo and the whose kid is he thing, this whole plot is actually reminding, especially these past 2 weeks, have been reminding me a lot, actually, of the whole thing with Sasha and Holly.
Oh yeah, it has. It has been. But I think it was more of a shock with Sasha and Holly. And we talked about this how we wish this one was a shock. We know what's coming. We know what people are going to say when they find out. And we know who's going to be understanding and who's going to have a fit. So these are things you can kind of predict at this time.
But yeah, but I guess my question for you before we end out the week, though, is who do you think will find out first? Dante or Chase?
I think Dante will. I think Chase will kind of come in at the end part of it, but I think Dante's going to find out first because no one can tame Lulu. And so, whether or not it's Lulu or if it's Brooklyn that tells, I think that Dante's going to find out first.
That's what I'm thinking, too. The question is, who's going to tell Chase? Will he find out first hand or second hand or fifth?
He probably will overhear the conversation. That would be my guess. Or Cody might just point blank tell him. Who
Maybe Drew
knows?
will.
Oh, well, Drew doesn't know yet, but that would be interesting if he did. All right, everybody. We thank everyone for joining us today. Please let us know your thoughts for the week. We'd love to read about them. All right, everybody. Have a great day.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye bye.